finally talked to my doctor and they're like, hey, you've got a baseball-sized tumor on your right frontal lobe. We don't know how you're alive right now. So I went from having a full-time good job and just living kind of a normal life to no longer having a job at all and having 7.5 centimeter tumor in my brain. In March of 2024, I had started to have these migraines that I couldn't sleep off. These ones started happening all day, every day, and there was nothing I could do to touch them. I tried IVs with all the vitamins in them, and I actually ended up going to an emergency room. They said, just live on ibuprofen. And I'm like, dude, no, that's insane. I could barely move my neck, like I could only turn my head a little bit. I couldn't touch my chin to my chest, which is apparently something most people should be able to do. I finally found a neurologist, and so neurologist orders an MRI, and he's like, I don't really expect to see anything here, but we'll do it just to rule things out. MRI finishes, and the tech talks through the little microphone in your ear and says, hey, don't move, we gotta send this to your doctor. And so they finally pull me out of the tube, and they're like, hey, we need you to call your doctor. Finally talked to my doctor, and they're like, hey, you've got a baseball-sized tumor on your right frontal lobe. We don't know how you're alive right now. Then they said, you need to go to the emergency room right now and have brain surgery today, right now. Call my wife. I'm like, hey, the MRI results are not good. I've got a brain tumor. I have to go get emergency brain surgery right now. I need you to meet me at the hospital. And the person in charge comes in, reads the MRI results, and puts his hand on my mom's shoulder and is like, I'm sorry. Like, this does not look good.
Before we dive into today's episode, I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor that makes this generational health podcast possible, Hiva Health. At Hiva, we're all about helping you live longer, feel stronger, show up better for the people and passions that matter most. Whether it's hormone optimization, medical weight loss, peptide therapy, personal skincare, or gut health, Hiva delivers modern, proactive healthcare that's designed around you. It's fully virtual, available nationwide, and powered by real technology and real people who actually care. If you're ready to invest in your health span, not just your lifespan, head over to hivahealth.com and start your journey today. I should note that prescription medications must be prescribed by a licensed provider in your state, and individual results will vary. And with that, let's go ahead and get started on our episode. Thank you. All right, Dustin, what's up, man? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on here with me. I appreciate it. You've got kind of a unique story that I thought would be interesting to talk through. And you and I discussed a little bit before this, just kind of the purpose behind what we're trying to do at the conversation. We'll just kind of see where it goes. But before we do, we're in a new space, which is really cool for us. Like, we've normally been in a different setting. But this place is called Ondar. Some people say Andar, but it's Ondar, and it's so freaking cool. So for anyone listening, if they don't know what Ondar is, you got to check them out, social media, whatever. But like my phone case, my phone wallet, all this stuff. They've got cases for your computer. They've got bags. I think you just mentioned, like, you hope your wife doesn't find this place.
You would throw that in there.
Because it can get a little nasty in here with the credit card if they find it. It's really cool. So anyway, anyone listening, if you haven't heard of Ondar, check them out. Their stuff is awesome, and we are using their showroom right now. So they've got all sorts of cool stuff in here. Anyway, thanks for coming on the podcast with me. This is the Generational Health Podcast, and we generally talk about lots of different stuff. I don't think there's any necessarily common theme to any episode that we do, but the common thread tends to be human resilience. And in your case, that's exactly kind of what you've been experiencing, is your own resilience and your own story. And I only know about it because I know some of your family members, and it's come up in conversation. And so when I heard a little bit about it, I wanted to get in touch with you and see if we could talk through it a little bit. So anyway, if you wouldn't mind maybe just introducing yourself, let us know like who you are, a little bit about yourself, your family, where you're from, and then we'll just kind of roll into it.
Yeah. Man, you want me to throw my name in there?
Of course.
We're going like name and everything?
The whole thing. People want to know who you are.
All right. Yeah, my name is Dustin Young. I am now 27 years old. I've got a beautiful wife and 2-year-old son, and hopefully this gets released in a couple of weeks because not everyone knows yet, but we have a second one on the way, which is kind of a big deal for us, given what you will hear about my story pretty soon. But yeah, I'm originally from Texas. I still, even though I lived in Arizona for the majority of my life, like to tell everyone I'm from there because I think it's cooler than Arizona.
Those could be some fighting words.
I
We moved here from Texas. Did I tell you that?
I don't think so.
We got three boys born in Texas.
Oh, yeah?
I went to grad school in Texas. The problem, and I know this because I know your brother, you guys are Longhorns.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You're an Aggies fan, huh?
We're gonna let that slide. But anyway,
Yeah,
okay. So
you
we'll
did
roll
tell me
right
that.
past the Longhorn shenanigans. Originally from Texas.
Yep, originally from Texas. We moved to Arizona when I was in junior high. This is about 2008-ish, and my dad was in construction at the time. Had some other businesses that kind of suffered during the downturn in the economy, and my siblings had started going to school out here in Arizona, and so my parents were like, "Well, I guess we're just going to start following them and try life again out there in Arizona." And that's kind of what happened. So we've been here ever since. Most of my family's here now. My wife's from here; her whole family's here as well. So we have a lot of people close by, which has been a huge blessing for us, even though we've talked, hundreds of times about moving to different states. But yeah, I, finished high school out here. I served a mission for our church in the Philippines. Came home, met my wife. We got married. Probably quicker than most would say is okay. So we got married in November of 2018, and it has been honestly a little strange. Like our whole marriage has been a little strange in terms of like the things that have gone on. In March of 2019, I actually had a tumor we found a tumor in my hip. I had surgery like 5 months after we got married. We were living in an apartment on the 3rd floor. And so if you've ever had surgery to your hip, that requires crutches, and in an apartment building with no elevator, that's a pain in the butt. So really quickly we learned to rely on each other because of that experience, and looking back now, that was kind of no big deal. It's like that happens to pretty much everyone, random things like that. Yeah.
Really quick, I'm just curious. So how many months after you got married, you had a tumor found in your hip?
I had surgery 5 months later. We found it, I think, like within 2 months of being married.
Okay, so 2 months after you got married, found a tumor. What led you to know that you even had a tumor? Like what led up to that?
So when I was in the Philippines, we did a lot of walking, and I had started to have trouble walking. A lot of pain in my left leg, tingling and burning, and I would lose feeling sometimes. And so they actually had me come home early because of that. And then it took almost a year for them to figure out what was actually going on. So when I was in the Philippines, they actually, it's kind of funny. I had been going to a hospital out there, and they wanted me to have surgery on my back. They thought I had some herniated discs. Turns out I didn't at that time. And they were like, "Yeah, we'll do surgery like tomorrow. We'll get this fixed for you." And I was like, "Cool, that sounds good. Let's do it." And that wasn't gonna fly. So they had me come home. Took forever to figure out what was going on, and it turned out to be a benign tumor in my hip.
So the pain was more, I guess I'm kind of interested in just how this goes misdiagnosed for so long when you're you know, like it, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that, go down this, Google, they're trying to Google symptoms. And I would assume that you guys were trying to figure things out too, if you had like this constant pain. So it's misdiagnosed as something in your back, or a slip disc or herniated disc or something like that.
Yeah.
But ultimately ended up being like, how did they catch it? Why, like in hindsight, obviously hindsight's 2020, but like, how did they end up actually finding that it was a benign tumor?
It was actually physical therapy. So I went to a physical therapist, and he's kind of like, we're doing stretches, and he's doing some stretches on my left leg, and he's like, dude, your leg doesn't move. Like, what's going on here? So he sent me to a doctor to get an MRI, and they were like, dude, you got a golf ball in your hip in between the ball and socket.
See, this is the stuff that kind of like drives me crazy about Western medicine, is I don't know why they didn't just do an MRI in the first place, like a full body MRI scan, or even if like the pain is, like from belly button down, like why would you go through a full year? And thankfully it was a benign tumor, but still, like that's what I don't understand, is why not just jump straight to, like, if you have blood work done and you have pain and you're trying to connect these symptoms, it's not herniated disc. You rule out some of those like kind of simple things and just do an MRI.
Yeah.
But someone like a physical therapist probably had to order it, right?
Yeah.
So
he was like, there's either something physically wrong with, tendons or something in there, or like there's something physical like that has to be keeping your leg from functioning normal.
So can you, as a patient, like beg for an MRI at that point? Even if like, I'm thinking like, if there was someone else out there that had something similar to this and they're worried, they've had chronic pain somewhere, and chiropractic, massages, physical therapy, doctors can't explain the pain. Is there an avenue that you can just, I know there's places you can go pay to just get an MRI done out of pocket, but I think it's an insurance issue, right? Like unless it's done a certain way, the insurance won't cover it. So most people end up not getting an MRI, right? Baffling. Drives me nuts. It actually really bothers me.
You'll hear more about that here in a little bit too.
Okay. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
That's part of your story. Obviously this is all new. I don't know a ton. Like I told you before, like I don't know a lot about everything you've gone through. So I'm just kind of piecing it together. And anyway, so didn't mean to cut you off on that, but I think that's interesting that it took that long to figure out the tumor situation. So now you got your, 4 months married. You got your wife that's thinking, wow,
oh crap, I've got to do everything right now.
We're in this.
Yeah.
Was she scared at all when you found the tumor? I mean, was there some moments
there was a little bit, because, they see it in an MRI and they don't know what it is yet, right? So then we had to go into the hospital and do a biopsy.
Yeah.
Biopsies take some time to get results, and there's, some anxiety there, but I don't think we were ever too worried. So ended up working out okay.
All right. So you have surgery and they take it out. You're feeling good. Life goes on.
For the most part, yeah. I still have some like chronic or lingering pain that goes down my left leg. So I still have a lot of nerve issues there. My hip's never been the same. I still don't have full range of motion like most people do. But it works well enough. So yeah.
Good. So I guess past that. So now that was in 20, sorry, you said what year was that?
That was in the beginning of 2019.
Okay. 2019. So has everything just kind of been from there? You guys just kind of like start your life together, and I'm assuming school and all the other stuff and career and getting into jobs and a couple of years ago, you said, so you have a 2-year-old son, right?
Yep.
Any health issues or any other big events happen between then and July of 2024?
Not that I can really remember. We've had, I broke my leg once, and my wife's had a couple things come up, but nothing real major health wise.
So tell me about July 2024.
So I had been working for one my brother for a while. Family, construction, real estate business, you're probably a little familiar with. And in towards the beginning of 2024, in March of 2024, I had started to have these migraines that I couldn't sleep off. I'd have some in the past where, you turn the lights off, close your eyes for a while, and it'll kind of go away. And then these ones started happening all day, every day, and there was nothing I could do to touch them. I tried IVs with, all the all the vitamins in them, and I actually ended up going to an emergency room in, I believe, in May of 2024. And they said, just live on ibuprofen. And I'm like, dude, no, that's insane. They wouldn't do an MRI. No MRI. I could barely move my neck. Like, I had very little mobility in my neck. So like I could only turn my head a little bit. I couldn't touch my chin to my chest, which is apparently something most people should be able to do. And that was pretty frustrating because I'm like, whoa, an emergency room? Like, I'm in a hospital and they won't order an MRI? This is like the easiest thing they could be doing right now. So that was pretty frustrating. I finally found a neurologist in, I think, like the next month in June, and told him my symptoms, which were these massive headaches that just don't go away. I had been having some trouble with my vision, so my vision was a little blurred, and that kind of came on slowly. So I didn't really. It wasn't like one day I woke up and I couldn't see. It was super slow, so it was hard to really tell until I was noticing my peripheral vision was pretty blurred. And so neurologist orders an MRI, and he's like, I don't really expect to see anything here, but we'll do it just to rule things out. And so I brought up the work thing because I had been struggling at work. And I didn't realize that what was going on in my brain was what was causing me to struggle at work. And I also think there's some godly influence there, but we can talk about that a little later. So I sort of quit my job, sort of got fired. And I had my MRI, I think, like the next day. This is July 2nd of 2024. Have my MRI, and your face first in the tube. You've got a little helmet thing on that like attaches to the table so your face doesn't get to move. And MRI finishes, and the tech talks through the little microphone in your ear and says, "Hey, don't move. We gotta send this to your doctor, and we'll talk to you in a second." So I'm laying there in the tube, not really thinking a whole lot. My brain had never really gone that far. Like, I honestly never even thought that what they found could have been an option for me, And so they finally pull me out of the tube, and they're like, "Hey, we need you to call your doctor." Took me about an hour to get them on the phone, so I'm still there at the clinic, for where they do the imaging, and finally talked to my doctor, and they're like, "Hey, you've got a baseball-sized tumor on your right frontal lobe. We don't know how you're alive right now." And then they said, "You need to go to the emergency room right now and have brain surgery today, right now."
And are you just by yourself? Or
I
do
was
you
by
have people
myself.
with you?
Yeah, I'm by myself. And so, of course, right after this had to have been like a 60-second conversation on the phone. It was so fast. Call my wife, like, "Hey, the MRI results are not good. I've got a brain tumor. I have to go get emergency brain surgery right now. I need you to meet me at the hospital." And she's like, "Excuse me?" And so I call my brother, who, it was maybe a little awkward at the time between us because of either quitting or getting fired. It was kind of one of those things. But we were really close. He was the closest one to me at that point. We had spent every day together in the office for years. Call my brother. I'm like, hey, I need you to come get me and take me to the hospital. Like, I have a brain tumor that they need to take out today. He's like, what? So he comes and picks me up. He takes me to the emergency room and meets me there with some of my family, my parents, my wife, my in-laws. And you know how emergency rooms are. They're kind of chaotic. They put me in a room. They already knew I was coming. My doctor had called them. We're like, hey, we've got this patient that's coming. And so they get me into a room, and the person in charge comes in, reads the MRI results, and puts his hand on my mom's shoulder and is like, I'm sorry. Like, this does not look good. And I'm still just kind of like, I don't know what's going on here. Obviously there were some tears that I shed when I first got the phone call, and on the way to the hospital, I'm like, this can't be real, and yeah, so I went from having a full-time good job and just living kind of a normal life to no longer having a job at all, and having a 7.5 centimeter tumor in my brain. The tumor had pushed my brain over to the side, called midline shift, and it had been pushing on all sorts of nerves, causing the pain, causing the vision problems, most likely causing the mood changes that I had been going through. Had a little bit of a temper, still kind of do. Yeah.
So you call your brother and you're headed to the hospital and all that. I got to imagine when these sorts of things happen, just like you said, that it almost feels like it's fake, like it's not real. And maybe because also you had previously had a tumor and it was benign.
Mm-hmm.
So you had gotten through that. I've got to imagine it took a little bit of time to process how serious it is. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Like how did you go through processing how serious it is, how serious the doctors mentioned it was, and how, I guess, was that same process for your wife?
We didn't actually know how serious it was until after a couple weeks after surgery. I didn't end up getting surgery that day like they told me I was supposed to. The neurosurgeon that was on call didn't show up for a day and a half. And so I never saw a neurosurgeon until basically the end of the next day. I had sat in the hospital. They put me in the cancer wing, not actually knowing if I had cancer or not. Neurosurgeon shows up about a day and a half later and is like, hey, this isn't as big of a rush as what everyone thinks. So you don't need to get surgery today. It's like, I will do it if you want me to, but you don't need to get surgery today. And so, I figure I'll finish this to kind of answer your question. So I end up getting discharged, go home, and we found a really good neurosurgeon who we trusted a lot more than the guy that didn't show up for a day and a half and was like, this isn't that big of a deal. Through a family friend, and he actually, I think, was on vacation, and he called me And he had already seen my images, and he was like, "Hey, I'm looking at your scan right here. I just want you to know that I'm very confident that we can do the surgery and that you won't have any lasting effects from it." And I'm like, "Great." Uh, so I ended up having surgery on July 15th, almost 2 weeks after the MRI. And it went well. They removed almost all of the tumor. They decided not to do a biopsy or anything. They just sent the entire thing to pathology. And I'm in the hospital, in the ICU for 3 or 4 days. But as soon as you wake up the next morning, they make you walk. And so the incision is from here to my ear over here. You've probably seen it. And nurse comes in and is like, "Hey, you got to get up and we're going to go walk around the hall." I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now? You're making me get up and walk?" I have my brain just absolutely sliced open right now. And we get up and blood just starts spewing down my face. Apparently one of my staples had come loose. A couple days later, the surgeon comes back and is like, he's got a staple gun in his hand. It looks like one you get from Home Depot, only chrome. And he's like, "Hey, I can either put another staple in your head right now or you can push that one back in." I'm like, I guess I'll push it back in. Like, that sounds less painful than having a staple gun in my skull. And I think that's when it set in for me. Like, I'm in the hospital. My face is swollen like a freaking balloon. The pictures are hilarious, actually. One of my sisters came to visit me once and just bust out laughing at me when she opened the door because my face is just like this. They cut through all my muscles right here on the side of my head where my jaw is, and that's when I was like, "Holy crap, this is no joke." Like, whatever, cancer or not, this is no freaking joke. I just had half my head cut open, and they actually removed, like, part of my brain is gone.
So, cancer or not, how risky is that surgery by itself? Before you went under, I'm sure they were explaining potential things that could have happened just from that surgery.
They went through the risks with me on the phone before we committed to anything, and it was actually surprisingly low. I think he said it was like 8% or less chance of something going wrong and less than 1% chance of death.
Okay.
Which was kind of shocking to me.
Yeah, that actually seems like, oh yeah, we're doing this for sure.
Yeah,
there's no questions asked. And then they just take the entire thing out instead of taking like a piece of it and sending it away to check it for cancer. It's like, seems like the logical thing in this case was just get the whole thing out, which is kind of amazing. So,
well, and the brain cells turn into cancer cells. So it's not like I had this massive lump like on top of my brain. Like, it was my brain. And so I actually have, like, if you saw my MRIs now, I have a huge chunk of my right frontal lobe is just gone. Like, most of it is gone.
And how does that affect you?
My memory is not as sharp as it used to be. I used to be kind of known for having really good memory, and now I don't. And I also have a little bit of a temper. And I'm hoping that it's from that, because I didn't used to near as bad.
Well, be hard not to be a little angry sometimes. I mean, we can get into some of that. I have kind of more on like the spiritual side. I'll have questions for you later on that. But okay, so you mentioned that the staple, when you had to push that back in, and it was that moment that you realized how serious it was. But maybe you can help explain how serious it is.
Yeah. So it was either a week or 2 weeks after surgery, we got the call from my neurosurgeon. And, surgeons, they're pretty to the point. It's not like, "Hey, we're going to sit you down. We need to talk to you about this." It's like, 2-minute phone call. We're at my in-laws' house, and we get the call. We were kind of expecting it, and my wife and I, we walk upstairs to just kind of be away from everyone and have it be quiet. And the surgeon's like, "I'm a little surprised, but you have grade 4 astrocytoma brain cancer, like pretty much the worst possible scenario here." And I wasn't expecting it. And my wife had done some research, as you'd expect, on like, okay, what are the different brain cancers? Which one's the worst? Glioblastoma is the worst. And so she's like, "So is that considered glioblastoma?" And he says yes. And so we just both kind of get the shakes, you know. She's obviously in tears, and I'm just like jittery and shakes, like, oh my, wow. My next question, I believe, was, okay, well, what's like, how long do people live with this? And he says 14 to 22 months is the average. And I'm sitting here, I'm 26 years old, and I'm like, so I could live till I'm 27, maybe 28, if I'm lucky. And we go downstairs, we break the news to my in-laws because that's where we were. And it is, what you could expect of just tears and emotions and everything. So it is pretty bad diagnosis. There's no sugarcoating it. I do have a mutation that helps me respond better to treatment, whereas true glioblastoma usually does not respond to treatment and is just pretty much a death sentence within like a year or two. So I'm pretty lucky because of that. We've done a lot of traveling. We've spent a lot more time together. I've got a bucket list. I don't know why everyone doesn't just have those and do those. It's so, it's kind of crazy to me.
Well, so how long's it been?
We just passed 18 months in like December or January.
And you look awesome.
Thank you.
You look healthy.
That's what everyone says. They're like, "You don't have cancer. You look great." Like, thanks, I guess.
Has anything changed since then? So since you received your diagnosis and it's been 18 months, I mean, are there things that you felt that have gotten harder? Have you felt it hit you in any way, or do you feel the same? And it's just kind of just life goes on.
I did chemotherapy and radiation pretty much immediately after, every day for 6 weeks. And while it wasn't as difficult as I expected, I was so tired all the time. And I'm still pretty tired frequently. Like, it has gotten better. My energy levels are better than they used to be. But every day is a little bit of a fight. I don't always want to get out of bed. And sometimes I'm like, you've got a good excuse, man. Just pull it out of your back pocket and be like, I'm not going to get out of bed today. I got brain cancer. Like, I could do it. It's not really me. And so other than that, though, like, yes, I didn't have a job. So yes, we had to sell things. I had to stop my hobbies, life changed in that way, but it didn't really matter anymore to me. But now I work out at home. I cold plunge sometimes. I sauna sometimes. I still can go do fun things. I can do hard things. I can pick up things that are heavy. I can be a dad. I can be a husband.
So you talked about a bucket list. Kind of leads me to the question of, like, how has this changed your perspective on what's important?
Well, do you want me to talk about the bucket list or the perspective?
Whatever you want,
both?
man. Whatever you want.
So before brain surgery, I had this kind of overwhelming feeling of everything's not going to be okay. Like your family's going to be okay, but everything's not going to be okay. And I didn't know if that meant I wasn't going to wake up from surgery or if something bad, such as a bad diagnosis, was coming right after. I just knew that it was not okay. Um, and like from time of MRI to surgery, we're pretty much just sitting at home doing nothing. It's like twiddling thumbs, waiting for brain surgery. Because what else do you do? When they're telling you that you should be having at least seizures constantly or just falling over dead. So that was kind of like my first big feeling that I think comes from up above of like, hey, your family's gonna be okay, which is what I was most concerned about, but you're probably not. And I didn't share that with my wife or anyone until afterwards because I didn't want there to be more anxiety than there already was.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I think my priorities changed. My perspective probably changed immediately after the MRI of like, dude, you can't be like, get your crap together. I had spent the previous 6 or so years just focused so much on work and being successful, as most people view it, making as much money as I could. That was like, even though in my mind I prioritized my family, I wanted to make money so that we could go make memories together and pay for cool trips and stuff. My actions weren't really reflecting that. I had spent way more time just working and going to school and doing those things, which are not bad things, right? But then I get this MRI and I find out I have a baseball in my head and I could die at any time. And I'm like, dude, you got a 6-month-old kid. Go spend as much time as possible with him. Like, do you want him to remember his dad or not? Because up to that point, he probably, like, we had spent very little time together. And that was kind of embarrassing for me. So then comes the diagnosis, and that got even greater, right? Like, we were really lucky to have a GoFundMe get started, and we were able to live off that money for a while. So I didn't have to work for a while. Probably couldn't have even if I wanted to, right? Like, I'm holed up at home in bed for a while. And so not only did our lives kind of take a 180, but my perspective took a 180 very quickly. It was pretty much in a snap. Like, hey, money, forget about it, dude. All these, cool truck and cool dirt bike and all these hobbies, forget about them. Like, just take care of your family, spend as much time as you can with them, try and build the people around you, and the rest will work out. Now, up to this point, have I been perfect at like prioritizing them? Probably not. But we have spent an exponentially greater amount of time together than before. I've probably spent more time with my 2-year-old in the last 18 months than like, I could say that I've spent more time with my 2-year-old in the last 2 weeks than I probably had in the first 6 months of his life. And I'm very grateful for that. Because if I hadn't been diagnosed, I don't think I probably would still be doing the same thing. Missing his freaking life. And now we've got another one on the way. I'm like, would I have missed both my kids' childhoods because I was too busy trying to freaking make a couple bucks? And that's it, man.
Well, not to gloss over it, but you had mentioned earlier, getting pregnant is kind of a big deal. right now too, right? So
Yeah.
um, like the timing of all this is kind of miraculous that you have another one on the way, right? I mean, were you guys
hmm
trying for a while? And
So because of chemotherapy, we weren't allowed to even try to get pregnant naturally. So we had to do IVF. It was planned, um, and it worked so far. So we, the conversation of having another kid was really, really tough for me. In the back of my mind, I'm like, am I going to meet him? Like, if we get pregnant, there's a really high possibility that I won't get to meet him because with grade 4 brain cancer, like once it comes back pretty fast and hard. Like a lot of people don't even get the chance to like even try and fight it when it comes back, as in when the tumor starts to grow again. And we've had quite a few friends actually recently pass away just out of the blue.
mm,
You know, comes back and they get like a couple of months and they're just gone. So, she knew she wanted a second kid so that our first would have another blood relative. And I'm like, are you joking me? Like, we're going to add more stress because I got to figure out how to pay for another kid, going back to the money thing. And I might not even get to meet them. That sounds awful. But kind of just had to get over it.
but what does that say about how much your wife loves you?
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. I mean, whether or not, to your point, like your words, whether or not in your mind you're thinking, well, I ever even get to meet my child. I think a big part of that's probably her just um, seeing you through your kids forever, for her whole life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and she is the best at prioritizing them. She's like, our 2-year-old's name is Tex. And she's the best mom that he could ever have. And the fact that she wants to, I mean, it would be just as hard for her, right? To potential, like if I passed away and she had to have the baby without me there, like that would be so much harder for her. And for her to put our child above all of that possibility is kind of crazy to me.
I kind of have a maybe on a spiritual angle question.
Go for it.
Hopefully that's okay.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on some people say, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen, or everything's meant to be, or, and then you've got some people that say, why do bad things happen to good people? You kind of have all these phrases, but
Yeah.
do you think that all of this is meant to be, or do you feel like stuff just happens and we have to figure out who we are kind of in the process?
I'm a everything happens for a reason kind of guy. We've been through all of those questions though. We've both been in therapy for pretty much the last 18 months. And I'm an everything happens for a reason guy. And so instantly after the diagnosis, I'm like praying, trying to figure out, okay, like why? What you got for me? And it was I got an answer at a very weird time. I was driving down the road, I was on the freeway, not even considering thinking I would be hearing from God. And the answer was not very direct, as you'd probably expect. It wasn't like, hey, you have brain cancer because of this, right? Like, obviously, he's probably not going to do that. But the answer for at least what I believe, right? That the answer that I was given for why we've been dealt this hand is actually tied into the reason that I came home early from the Philippines. I needed to come home early so that I could meet my wife and spend more time with her so that I could leave this earth early and go wherever we go in heaven. I can go and I can teach the Filipinos there in heaven. I got answers to both things kind of at once. Definitely doesn't directly answer like you have brain cancer because of this, but everything to me just fits together so well. The timeline of it all, being able to see our son be born and hopefully be able to see a second child be born and spend more time with them than probably the average guy does in a couple of year time frame or a few years. I have no idea. We have no idea how long I'll get, but it has been a spiritual roller coaster. At first, I feel like I got closer to God than I ever had before. It has been, it's been a roller coaster though. I've got times where I'm like, dude, this isn't real. Like, God, you suck. Like, why would you do that to me? Which I think is a natural response. But deep down, I know it's for a reason.
I think sometimes I've been torn on that question. That's why I asked, because we have, I've brought this up on the podcast before, but I have a niece that was diagnosed at 9 months with advanced neuroblastoma, and she was a baby, right? They actually think it was so advanced, they think that she may have gotten it like literally in gestation.
Jeez.
Like it's crazy. And you see, I don't know, these things happen. And it's like, okay, well, is there a reason that happened? Did it happen to me? You hear this, like, it doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, which kind of goes in line with a little bit of where I guess my mind has settled sometimes. And I think it jives with exactly what you just said. But I think we have a choice when bad things happen. When you get bad news like this, it's life altering news, or something happens, or a kid, an innocent little baby ends up with some horrible disease. It's completely innocent, right? It's not like they could have lived their life a different way to reduce the risk of this or that or whatever. It just happens. But I think in those moments, we all have a choice to either kind of lean in and try to find answers, or kind of take a step back and just be mad that this is happening to me. And I think it's in those moments, like if you're a spiritual person, it's in those moments that we do have an opportunity to come a lot closer to God and figure out kind of what our purpose is now. And our purpose might shift a little bit, like you may have had a different perspective or idea of what your purpose was for your life when you were 20, right? Or even before that. I mean, totally. 20, you had your hip thing, right? Yep. Which I think is interesting too. I don't know if there's a connection between that and the brain stuff, but it's like, when you're in your teens, you're probably a teenager running through high school thinking like, I'm going to be this and I'm going to have that and I'm going to make this and, I'm going to build this life. And we kind of have these ideas of what kind of paint this picture of the perfect life, but it's almost like, no, you make the life as you go, because life kind of throws these curveballs at you. And as we kind of lean in and look for guidance throughout it, that's how we kind of find our purpose. And so I've really struggled with that whole thing of thinking like, like that, like my niece got cancer, to teach their parents a lesson or something.
Right.
I'm like, I don't think that's the case necessarily. But I think God taught them a million lessons when they chose to turn to him,
Right.
So and maybe that's just a roundabout way of saying the same thing. I don't know. But I got to imagine that you went through a roller coaster of emotions. I think it's only natural to be pretty upset and mad at times too. And I've seen some people like really lean in. I've got someone else I'm going to be interviewing here in a few days who had something really horrible happen, and she's incredibly spiritual. And so I'm excited to talk to her about that too. Cause I'm like, you know, what made you lean in instead of just be freaking pissed off,
Yeah.
you know, because here you have like an amazing wife and you have this beautiful kid and you've got so much more, you know, and you could just be like, why me? Why is this happening to me? And you would be justified in feeling that way. Totally. Right. I know.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me because I don't know how I would respond. I don't. It could happen to me tomorrow though. And that's where it's like with these conversations, it's really interesting because I'm like, okay, well, what can I learn from you? What can I learn from you going through this? Because right now, as far as I know, I'm healthy, but I'm on the grind. I'm working on my company. I'm trying to make money. I for good reasons. I want to provide a lifestyle for my family and do the trips and all the things. But how easily we're distracted from the most important things in our life. So the things we're working for, we actually get distracted doing all these other things to help support them. But at the end of the day, like all of our time is limited. We don't know when it's going to be. And until something happens to us, sometimes we don't really like think about it that way. Right. We don't think about like the quality amount of time we have remaining for all of us. And it's kind of, so there was this guy I used to work with. He was a customer of ours at another company I was with. And he was nearing retirement age, and him and his buddies had this concept called QTR. He's always just like QTR, and he called it quality time remaining. Not just like how long you're going to live, but the quality of the time you have left. Right. And there's a big difference. And so from that perspective, he and his friends would kind of have a bucket list of things, right? It's like, if they wanted to go do something that was like kind of a check the box thing, they did it because they're just like, we don't know how much quality time left we're going to have. They're kind of like older in their age or whatever. And physically they might not be able to do it. You know, all these sorts of things. And so I love that concept because we don't really know how much QTR we have, you know, and then when we're faced with something as dramatic as your situation, your QTR perspective kind of like narrows really, really quick. Yeah. Right. Man. So is there anything that without this, I'd say because of this, what have you learned about yourself?
I'm pretty tough on myself. A lot of people will probably agree with that, as in like they've seen me be hard on myself.
In what way? Like what way are you tough on yourself?
I think I just always have really high expectations for myself. And if I don't do, I'm also a perfectionist. So if I don't do something perfectly, I'll beat myself up, you know, I'll get angry and blame myself. And so I guess that's something that I've probably learned about myself. But I mean, I've learned that I am capable, you know, like I run my own business now. I can take care of my family. Despite all the health stuff going on, you know, I can be there emotionally, I think, for my family as well. You know, I'm normally pretty closed off. It's kind of probably runs in my family. Most of us are not known for being emotionally connected. But I think that has changed, and I am capable of being there emotionally. I have feelings. Another just, I guess, personality trait or whatever you want to call it of some of my brothers specifically is that we just don't show emotion, you know?
I think that's generally a man thing. That's a male thing. There's some that are better than others, but I think if I'm speaking in generalities, that's a problem that men have
Yeah.
for sure.
So think I've gotten better at that. I'm still not a big crier. Most men are not. I get that. But yeah, I don't know. Like I've learned that I can let go. Um, I'm usually a stress case about money, and I I I can let go, and everything's gonna be okay. If I lose a client, okay, you find another one, right? Like it's not the end of the world. If we have to dial back lifestyle a little bit, we can. We've done it before now. Like, um, and I think when you get into the regular day to day grind, I think you just forget those things. Like, when's the last time you thought about like, oh, if I had to, I could go sell these things and we could live on way less than we used to. Like, you don't normally think about that because you don't want it to happen, right? You don't expect it to happen. And I think, yeah, those are just kind of basic things, but stuff that you don't normally think about. And now that I've had the time to reflect, and I had days where I was just staring at a wall in a hospital because my brain wouldn't let me do anything else. There's been weeks of staring at a wall in my bedroom because I'm laying in bed because that's all I can do. And you get a lot of time to reflect when you got nothing else to do.
Mm-hmm. A couple more questions and I'll let you get out of here, but and feel free to get comfortable. I know the couch is kind of like squirmy, whatever. But, how important have friends and family relationships been for you through all this?
More important than ever. I would not be alive if it weren't for my friends and family. I've always been a big friends guy. In high school, my parents may take offense to this, but I was known as the kid with no parents. I was so close to my friends in high school. Like I was sleeping over at their houses all the time just because I could, and I was close with them. And I wasn't super close with my family, um, and I wasn't close with my family until this. It's probably brought us all a little bit closer together. Hopefully, if you're watching this. And yeah, honestly, without my in-laws, without my parents, without my siblings, without all of our friends, like the support we've gotten from each and every one of them has carried us. Uh, I don't I don't think that I would be alive if it weren't for them.
Well, I don't know your friends. I'm sure you've got some amazing friends, but I know two of your siblings and their spouses. And I don't, I know how I can see how much they care for you and I can see how much they love you. And I can see how much you mean to them. Next question, I guess, would be for those out there that are just grinding through life, trying to provide for their families and all these sorts of things. What message would you have for us guys that are, kind of just going through the motions of trying to make something of themselves and become the best version of themselves and working hard and all that? Like, as it comes to just life perspective, like if you had some sort of a message or like a voice of warning or something, like given your unique perspective, what would you want us to know?
Don't stop grinding, number one. But also make sure your priorities are straight. Like, are your actions actually portraying what your priorities are? Um, you could get in a car accident tomorrow and die. Anyone could die at any time. And would you be okay? Would you be okay leaving your family? Like, as your relationships are, would you be happy leaving your family like that? Or are there things that are unsettled or that need fixed, relationships that need to be worked on? Um, I'm not saying live life like you're going to die tomorrow, but kind of am at the same time. Like, make sure that you're spending your time in the places that you need to be spending your time in order to be fulfilled, in order for your family to know that you love them, so that they can have memories with you and you can have memories with them. It is just too easy to get caught in the rat race. And I still get caught in it all the time. Like, I still worry about money all the time. And that doesn't really go away. But I see people that have beautiful families. They are successful. They might have great businesses or great jobs, but I never see them with their family. And to me, that's kind of the most important thing we do have. I believe we get to live with them after we leave this earth. But I don't think we're going to be taking all of our fancy houses and fancy trucks with us. Maybe, I don't know. But I think the relationships we have are the most important thing. So if anyone takes anything from this, I hope it's that.
No, I mean, that's awesome, man. I'm with you on that. It's hard sometimes. Again, I just think we live in a distracted world, and we all, like you mentioned earlier, it's like, even with your diagnosis, you're not perfect, and no one expects you to be perfect. I think, there's a balancing act there too. But I think keeping that perspective of what is most important to us, and kind of keeping inventory, and just saying, okay, well, if that's the most important thing to me, am I treating it the way it should be treated? If it's the most important thing to me.
Absolutely.
All right. So this last question might be tough. So you got a baby on the way. You know the gender yet?
We're going to find out next week.
You're find out next week.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got Tex, 2 years old. And you got baby number 2, boy or girl. We don't know yet. Let's say, we're 10 years down the road. Tex is 12. Baby number 2 is 10-ish, right? 9-ish. What would you want them to know about you?
I just want them to know that I love them. That's pretty much it. I'm no, I'm not like a superhero or anything, but I love Tex, and I'm going to love that baby.
At the end of the day, that's what's most important, is that they know we love them, right?
I think so.
Anything else you want to say? Anything else any shout outs to your awesome wife and all the others?
I think the wife probably deserves the most.
What's her name?
Sarah. I think my biggest struggle has been like having to take a step back and watch what she goes through. Because I just can't imagine being on the other side, like being in her shoes. Like, I've got this husband who I chose to marry and live my entire life with and raise a family with, who I probably won't get to actually do that with, like, long term. I remember we Sorry for getting emotional. We've always had kind of big hopes and dreams, of I've always wanted to be able to live on a little more land again, kind of like how I grew up. She's always had the house she's wanted, and though those things don't matter a ton, it was just things we were looking forward to, right? And I remember not long after my diagnosis, and we were like, probably never gonna have that. Like, we're probably not gonna be sitting on our front porch when we're 60 years old, like just chit chatting, like we're young again. And so I just can't imagine being in her shoes. Like, how am I gonna provide financially for my kids when I've had someone that does that for us for our entire lives? That's scary. How am I going to parent my kids 24/7 without my second half here to help me? And I don't think she gets enough credit for that, for having to face those fears, and putting on a brave face every day. And we just act like all is well. We just live life like we're normal. That's all we can do. And so I'm insanely blessed to have her by my side. If I didn't have her and Tex, I would have no reason to. I'd have no reason to be here. I don't think I'd have any reason to like fight cancer. I would just like, okay, take me. And so, yeah, she's amazing.
Well, Sarah sounds special, and I think going back to your everything happens for a reason, I think she was put in your life for a big reason.
For
and
sure.
I think that she's, if I had to guess, fully capable and probably not even thinking about a lot of those things that you're thinking about. She's probably grateful for every second that she has with all of you together, because she gets to carry on regardless of how long we have, right? Whether it's a month, 2 years, 10 years. She's probably just grateful for all the awesome memories and time you have now, because those live on forever. Those don't go. They stay. So she sounds pretty amazing, and I think it takes a really special human, spouse, friend, partner to fight through this stuff with somebody. And she sounds amazing. Well, I want you to know, man, like, I appreciate you coming on here and telling all this. It's, man, your stories, it's really heart wrenching. You bring kids into it, and it's, I know you said you're not like super emotional. I don't really show my emotions a ton either, but sometimes these sorts of things get to me a little bit. But I appreciate you coming on here and sharing all of this with us and helping just add some perspective to a lot of us that are just kind of going through the motions of life. And we sometimes forget like how fragile life is and how quick it can change in a second. But I'm grateful to have actually formally meet you.
Yeah.
And hope you know that me and my family will be praying for you. And I hope that, next year you're going to look as good as you look right now. And the year after that, you're going to look as good as you look, and you just keep responding well to treatment, and you just keep beating the odds. They gave you a time frame, and I think you're just kind of giving that time frame the middle finger, and just keep enjoying life and keep enjoying time and enjoy, pregnancy. And I know it's still early and all that, but
yeah,
just keep enjoying all those little moments. And we'll just keep praying for you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again for coming in.
Totally.
We'll catch up again later. We'll do this again this time next year. How about that?
Okay. Deal.
All right, man. Take care.